Our product is called the Food Replicator. It's an homage to Star Trek Food Replicator. The idea was plant your seed, close the unit, fill up the water and nutrient reservoir, and from the application, just select what you have planted. So it could be tomato. Close the unit, click on tomatoes, and that's it. It's going to regulate all the parameters, light and everything, and the seeds will sprout. It will grow, and at the particular time for harvest, the application will let you know that it's the time to harvest, and you just go and harvest your tomatoes. In business, you need to be doing proper project management before you have a successful outcome. So it's analyzing the problem, dissecting it, and then implementing the solution of those specific problems that you have dissected, along with timeline that you've got to meet. We changed our entire strategy and approach to awareness and education. Raise awareness first, and then educate them, and then present your solution. Because people really don't know they have a need until you make them aware of it.
Welcome back to the show, and I'm your host, Doctor Gan. Today I have an amazing guest by the name of Dr. Mohammed Raiyan. He used to be a medical doctor and essentially had to give it up because he had this big dream of changing the lives of millions of people. And he started his own business in the agricultural industry, whereby he creates sustainable food through his company, TerraGrow. And today we're going to learn about some of the challenges he's had and how he's actually faced them and what he's done to sort of overcome them. And I'm sure we'll get a lot out of this. Welcome to the show. How are you, Mohammed?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Well, as I mentioned during the intro, I was going to talk. I thought maybe we'll start with you kind of going through where you've sort of been, because you were a medical doctor and then you decided to move on from that. And then now you sort of have a startup and you're trying to change the world when it comes to food and sustainability. So maybe I'll let you sort of tell me a little bit of a brief of how you've gone from being a medical doctor to then becoming a startup founder.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would say when people hear like I'm a doctor and then a startup founder, that becomes like quite surprising. Like it raises eyebrows. What is he doing here? He's not inside the clinic or treating patients. So I was practicing for last 15 to 18 years, 18 years to be exact. I was an internal medicine specialist, basically, or then I was consulting as well. I had my own clinic. And while I was practicing, I was thinking always like, what's next? What's next for me? What's next? Like now, okay, I did my postgrad, I did my specialization. Now what's next for me, right? Because I was treating the patients and I enjoyed it at that time. Like there was counseling and there was like helping people go through the journey to their reaching state of well-being that they're comfortable with, or mental health well-being associated with the diseases, whatever. So what was next? And I couldn't picture myself doing the same thing day in, day out, year in, year out. And I was like, what to do? So I started reading on what to do, what's next for me. And then I got into an MBA program because I had no idea for what are the terminologies used, why we do what we do in the business world, basically, right? And many people told me like, oh, you just want to change career, just go ahead, try something. No need for these degrees and courses, and just go ahead and you learn as you do, which is valid enough. But my point is like you need to have a foundation before you can build on top of that. And for me, being from a medical background, I didn't know most of the jargons or what is going on in the industry and who's going to give me that foundation, right?
It's quite interesting, Mohammed. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's quite interesting. I think with doctors especially, we're so used to having sort of a framework to go by. So like when you study medicine, you start off by anatomy, you do this, and then you move on. And I think just listening to you as well, I can only imagine that as a doctor, you're probably thinking like, how am I going to build something if I don't have the foundation and the bricks? And that's how you sort of been trained. Would you agree?
I agree, exactly, 100%. And because that gives you the perspective of where to start from, right? And that move with it, which I did of getting a business degree helped me because it helped me get introduced to people in that sector, right? And when I was doing the program, the dean got to know me, the professors got to know me, and they started introducing the industry, what I could do with my particular skill set. Because being a doctor, people think your skill set is just treating people. No, it's not. It's about analyzing and then dissecting the problem and then implement and then finding the solution of that problem, because you're dissecting it into parts and you want to see the outcome of those each parts to be successful, which I related to project management, right? In business you need to be doing proper project management or product management before you have a successful outcome. So it's analyzing the problem, dissecting it, and then uh, implementing the solution of those specific problems that you have dissected, along with a timeline that you got to meet. And that's the whole basis of agile work methodology as well. You are moving fast, you know what you're doing, you have analyzed the problem, you're solving it, and you're breaking it down into tasks oriented outcomes. And that training helped me to do the business degree and to understand the broader scope. And as I was doing this, I joined a startup, health tech startup, because they needed an SME. But I took this as an opportunity to learn how products are built, how companies are run. I worked with different team members. And that's when my journey started, basically, in this uh, tech world. But again, I was like, I want to do something more. So I learned different. I learned how to code. I worked with different entrepreneurs. And I'm like, hey, why I have the skill set? Why can't I give my own startup? So in 2018, I
How
worked with the
long were
founder
you? How long were you with the health tech before you moved on?
from 2016, from 2015 till 2017, basically, till
Yeah.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once we did that, I moved on to edtech because the founder got to know me through health tech, and he was an investor at that time in that company. And he was like, "Look, I really like your energy. I know you're bringing in fresh perspective, and I want a fresh perspective. I don't want the traditional way of doing things. And something new is being built. I want to take the risks. It will fail. It's okay, but failure shouldn't stop us. We should try new stuff." And so I got into with him, and we made the first in the UAE. Basically, we made the first experiential learning in STEM sciences. So we incorporated 3D printing, learning by doing, building rovers, and all those things. I did business development, broker partnership with the space agency here in the UAE, and all the education. So it was going quite well. And also, I started trialing with the team. Uh, what you call about a virtual learning platform, which wasn't picking up at that time because everything was like physical, pre-COVID. And COVID hit, and the plus point was we already had that platform. So we rebranded ourselves as Frontier Learning Solutions, and we launched it. We were a revenue making company, and from which I did a successful exit, basically. And at that point, that investor was like, "Okay, you be the founder of this company. You're leading it right." And that was my first foray into the startup world, where I had a good exit, and thankfully, because I had a good team behind me, helping us move forward with that. But in all of this journey, one thing is true: it's very stressful. It's very stressful.
Is it stressful because of the time commitments, or the fact that you're just not sure what's going to happen next, or it depends on the weather and how things are in terms of what's happening in that position? For example, COVID at the time.
Yeah, it was mostly like at that point, it was like COVID, like, what's going to happen? Will the market pick this up? Right. But there was a trend coming in. We could see, like, especially in the education, parents were most like, I want my kids to be engaged with something. Right. And so there was some kind of demand over there, but no one was sure what they want to do, whether they would want to take it or whatever. Right. And that was kind of very stressful because even doing a proper market study with with our customers, which are the parents, was kind of difficult. And as well as a time commitment, we were very tight on time because we were working with some big entity, and they've never done this virtual thing at that time, and they're like, okay, when can we get it? But if I follow the traditional developmental time and cycles, it's gonna be time. But no, we don't have that much time. We need it then, and as well as the general stress of meeting investors. Now you can't meet face to face. Before it was like you meet them over lunch or coffee, you discuss, you pitch, but now it's all virtual, right? So how do they judge you? How do they vet you, right? So that was a complete new dynamics that was coming in, and it was a combination of factor. Basically, it was a combination of factor, and then add on top of that the lockdown, so you cannot even
Yeah.
go out to relax a little bit. So yeah, it was a combination of all of those things.
Yeah. And so what sort of got you to TerraGrow, where you currently what you're currently doing currently now?
Oh yeah. So after I did an exit, I took a break, which was of 2 months, and I was thinking like what to do. So
That's a holiday, Mohammed. The 2 months is a holiday.
yeah, 2 months was a holiday, and it was like a summer vacation. Like the kids have, that was a summer vacation for me.
Yeah.
And at that time, I worked. Yeah, after that, like I worked as a like one of my network. I reached out and they said, "Hey, you built a this virtual. We have this problem of health digitization. We want to build a virtual care platform. Can you help us with that?" And so it's just for 3 months. We are almost there, but we just can't get it over the finish line. Can you just help us with that? So I'm like, okay, join them, saw what their problem was, fixed it for them, basically, right? And we went live with that. It was for 2 or 3 hospitals here. We went live with that. Then I worked at a venture studio where, I worked with numerous founders. It was a venture studio. They were taking projects from corporates and having pitching competition and as such. So I worked with prop tech products, SaaS, AI, health tech was there, fintech, different kinds of products. I met different kinds of founders, met different investors, and I was seeing like what kind of developments and initiatives and market gaps that were being fulfilled. And we had some founders again. They had a great solution, but not the time was not right for the solution. Like there was no particular demand in the market. So I was looking at all of these things. Then I realized, and that's when I met my co-founder Marvin, basically, and we realized, like, look, there are so many in SaaS, fintech, health tech. There's agri-tech even was there, but those are like mostly like e-commerce platform. But no one has addressed the problem of food. The source, the bottom, the main, the base of the pyramid is the food production, right? What has been done in food production, like for masses? We know something is going on for big players, fields and drones and whatever. But what about the people? What has been done in that? So we did our research and we saw like many things. Vertical farming was picking up, and it got a bad rep because of some reasons, but nothing was really done for the general consumer.
What is vertical farming?
So vertical farming is nothing but hydroponics stacked on top of each other, basically. That's in a very layman terms. And the reason it got a bad rep was because a lot of hype was made about sustainability, as well as demand was created. Like, hey, people are going to be going with organic produce, right, which are coming out of the vertical farming because you're using essentially basic nutrients and overselling it, basically, right? But at the end of the day, how much would you pay for salads? And that was the another problem in hydroponic and this agri-tech was everybody was focused on leafy greens, and microgreens, but no one was doing the real vegetables. And that was a problem we wanted to solve, right? And the way to do it was we should design and make an appliance affordable for the people. And so I brought in my skills of soldering, putting stuff together, quick and dirty, so that to make sure that it works. My co-founder brought in his expertise of gardening, home gardening, and together we built our first prototype, which we started growing, and it worked. Surprisingly, it worked, and we started collecting the back-end data for that because we talked with three big old universities and the agricultural department so that we can get some data to feed in our backend. But sadly, no one has been focusing on that particular area most of the time. So we were like, you know what? Let's just do it. And let's just grow our stuff. Let's focus on the vegetables. We know people can do leafy greens. We know microgreens. That should be our tertiary effort. But right now, let's just do the vegetables. So we started growing different vegetables. We built 2-3 units. I got hired an engineer who could help me with further making it like a proper schematic design and everything. And we built our first proper prototype, not the quick and dirty one. And we started growing our vegetables. We collected the back-end data, the parameters which are needed, such as the light, how much light is needed, the lux level, the pH, the humidity, the temperature, the TDS for the nutrients, basically. All of those in a set, precise manner to give the most optimal yield and in the least amount of time you get the harvest, basically. And that's what we call the precision agriculturing, and optimize it in such a way that those parameters are fed through an app into the system, which you can monitor, and you don't have to touch it. So we wanted to make it AFK, away from keyboard, but in this case, away from home farming. Away from home farming, AFH. And it worked. So you don't have to tinker with it. You don't have to.
So let's get this straight. What kind of vegetables can you grow?
In terms of vegetables, you can grow tomatoes, you can grow cucumbers, you can grow those baby squashes, and it's like more than 30 varieties.
Right. 30, so you basically just put the seeds in. So you get your pod, for example, I'm assuming, and you put your seeds in, and then do you need to do anything?
No. So our product is called the Food Replicator, and it's an homage to Star Trek Food Replicator. The idea was plant your seed, close the unit, fill up the water and nutrient reservoir. You need to do that. And from the application, just select what you have planted. So it could be tomato, right? Which variant of it is. That's it. Close the unit, click on tomatoes, and that's it. It's going to regulate all the parameters, light and everything, and the seeds will sprout. It will grow, and at the particular time for harvest, the application will let you know that it's the time to harvest, basically. And you just go and harvest your tomatoes. That's it. Like making it as simple and easy as it is. So our units are quite big, by the way. People, when we initially tell them this, like, oh, how big is it? The retail one, which we're selling now, is 2 feet by 3 feet. That's like a coffee table size. Yeah. And then we have the bigger unit, 4 feet by 3 feet. That's like a dining table size. And when people hear that, oh, okay, that's quite big, I'm like, yeah, you need space to grow cucumber and the tomatoes. And
you can't have one cucumber that you're going to have for dinner tonight.
Exactly. Because the goal is like tomatoes take like 3 months of grow time till harvest, right? So if you can space it out, the plantation time, which we also have in our application for the people to space it out, because most of them don't know how to do this, right? So we're providing an educational material as well. So every 3 months, you're having a sizable harvest of tomatoes. So from our bigger units, 4 by 3, you can harvest almost up to 8 to 10 kgs of tomatoes, which is good enough.
A sizable amount, yeah. So you've obviously gone from being a doctor, giving that up to moving into a space. So obviously challenge after challenge, and obviously being a medical doctor, you probably don't think much of it because it's kind of normal for you to go from one thing to be on call, and next thing you're studying something else and you're starting. But I can only assume that there was some challenges with the changeover. Obviously, with not only in medicine but in anything that you do, if you're going to do something new and different, there's always that hurdle of difficulty or challenge. How did you sort of get past that?
Good question. So one of the things I faced was, to be honest, was when you start something new, you have to always start from zero, right? And for me, it was essentially starting from zero because I'm leaving my comfort zone and going into something totally. For me, it was a frontiers, basically, right? I could say that, like, it's zero. From zero, I have to learn, and it gets frustrating at point because, to be very honest, when you're like, when I was doing an MBA, that was like my 0 point, right? Like all these young people going in, and they're having that energy, like, yeah, I want to do this, I'm doing this. And it kind of like, am I in the right place? Like, why am I doing this? So this question comes in, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Like, I could have just continued, because not only when you're starting from zero, you have to do a lot of reading, and you have to build that knowledge base so that when you come into the classroom and they are giving the lecture, you should at least have some idea of what's going on, right? And
Yes.
those people, they already have an idea. So, but for me was like my end goal. What is my end goal? Like, where do I see myself in 5 years' time and in a 10 years' time? Like my short roadmap and my long roadmap, right? Where do I see myself? And to get there, what do I need? It's very uncomfortable for me now because the environment, something new, but it will help me to be at the forefront of something, and I need that skill set, so I gotta do it. And the thing that which most helped me was having constructive conversations with my professors at that point, which they told, like, look, good thing you came in because this is the trend of the industry, because they're the forefront of talking with different industry leaders, different corporates, whatever it is, right? And so they have an idea of what's going to happen and what's happening and what's going to happen. So they tell, like, look, good you came in, and that constant motivation, good you came in. Look, the industry is heading there. You have an opportunity there if you can able to do X, Y, Z. Giving the direction, like, look, this is what's happening. The motivation from like the educators was very important, rather than saying, look, you should have stayed as a doctor. It's
As a
really not a
doctor.
good fit. Yeah. And I was like, and that helped me a lot because they're like, they appreciated the fact, like, I'm coming from a different field and I have a set of experience, but rather than looking at my background, I looked at the skill set and the experience I'm bringing in, and how that can move me forward. They said, don't worry about your degree. Put that outside the way. What experience and skill set you brought in, that is the key. And on top of that, my family also helped. My wife was supportive and motivated me. So it was kind of difficult, the transition. But once you go over the hill, it becomes easier.
It's interesting I bring it up because I'm not trying to bring up a sore wound, but I think it's something that when you look at an end product, you don't see how much sweat and tears went into it. And once you pass that stage, no one really talks about it. It's not that they don't want to talk about it, but it's a tough time, and so they just think that, okay, I just put one foot in front of the other. But for a lot of younger people that are sort of starting off, and I think for I also know a lot of people that are looking into sort of changing a career. I think that it is one of the challenging things to find yourself starting from zero, and also financially. Like you mentioned, your wife was very supportive, but when it comes down to financially as well, sometimes you go from earning a certain amount to going to not earning anything. So how was that transition as well?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. So when I got into an MBA, like I mentioned, I had my own practice as well. So actually, I gave that up, and then I got a job. I was the head of emergency as well in a hospital, and that was a daytime job, and then in the evening I was doing my practice. So I sold my practice to get the cash in, right, and that job I made it into a night call, basically a night shift completely, because in the day I had my course. So that was the full-time program. They didn't have a part-time at that point in time. So I was doing the daytime course. Then after I finished that, my shift used to start from like 8 p.m. from all the way to 8 a.m. in the morning. It was a 12-hour night shift. And I used to take that time. Some days were really busy. Some days were really tough. Really tough. But the days that were busy, like, gave me the opportunity to actually study, do the assignments, read up the materials while I was sitting in the emergency room when there was no cases coming in. And the days that were coming in, like, that was just flowing in, right? You just had chaos.
Yeah.
And that paid something to afford my courses and everything. And in the startup journey, to be very honest, people think, oh, the startup founder has exited, he has a lot of money, right? But actually, that money is, you can say, peanuts, basically. So you have two options. Two options. I'm being very blunt here. Two options. Either people say you put it in your savings, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And you don't do any work. You eat from your savings, right? Eventually, that's going to run out.
Yeah.
Second is like you do consultancy jobs that pays you something, right? That keeps your bills paid. And then you have either get a full-time job, but once you have run your company and you exited, you're just kind of, you can't have that full-time job kind of mindset anymore, right? So
Yeah.
some are okay with it, but for me it was like, it's okay, but I'm really not happy about it. So what's the next option? Go into another venture, right? And that needs a lot of money. So what do? The thing that you exited with, you start pouring it in, and then if you have some more savings, you start pouring it in. And then you do a raise, like a friends and family raise or an angel raise. If you're unique enough and you're good at convincing, you can do that. But you pour that in as an investment. People think, oh, it's an expense. No, it's not an expense. It's an investment because you are building your own company. And it's not easy when you have to say like, oh, I need this. But then you think, do I really need this? But I come in with the mindset is, we need this? Yes. Because we have to do this, right? Yes. Here, let's do it. Let's go with it. It's investment. It will work. Doesn't work. It's okay. But I learned. Next time I'm not going to repeat that. And that's the important bit. Remembering your learnings and your outcomes. If you ignore them, then you're bound to repeat it. But if you remember them and you write them down, I tried that. I put some money in. It didn't work. Even if it's $1 in, you gotta write that down and keep a note of it. So you learn from that mistake if it didn't work out.
When do you look back at these mistakes? So, for example, like, you're doing a big venture and you raise some capital, and then all of a sudden you're spending for, maybe you need to increase your marketing department or what have you. When do you sort of then go back and be like, okay, I spent this much, 3 months ago? Do you have do you do it monthly? Do you do it weekly?
Good question. So what we do is I'll do the marketing basically. So I'm a believer of you have a product, good, but if you don't have a equally good marketing strategy and marketing execution plan, it's pointless to have a product, no matter how much good it is. So I sit with, like, it was initially me and my co-founder doing it most of the time, and we are like, okay, so what do we want to achieve with this marketing that we're going to put money in? It could be paid ads. It could be hire someone to help with the documentation, reach out, or whatever it is, right? So what is my objective from there? And once we have defined the objective, then we start saying, okay, to do this, we need X amount of money. And when can I see the results out of it? Right? So usually for marketing, we set a quarter plan because it takes 3 to 4 months, minimum of 3 months, to see any kind of feedback or results out of it. You need to run any campaign for 3 months. And how much budget it's going to take. So we plan this out and we put in money with it. So for example, in TerraGrow, when we started, we thought people had a good idea of hydroponics, right? Because our product was tailored to consumers. People have been reading, didn't know. So our whole marketing was geared towards sending this message, hey, this is a great product. It's going to help you with, growing your stuff and blah, 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 blah. It's very beneficial, sustainable, efficient, whatever, right? And we spent like 2 quarters, that's like 6 months, putting in money and hired people to help us with that, designing collaterals, posting them, monitoring them, running paid ads. But the learning we got out of that was, and we were following, and we were monitoring that every week, and collating the results. Is it working or not? And we found out that our entire strategy was wrong. Entire strategy was wrong. And the learning from that was people don't know. They're too busy on the day-to-day lives. They do read about it. Reading is one thing, and knowing is another thing. Having a knowledge of the benefits is a totally different thing. So then we changed our entire strategy and approach to awareness and education. Raise awareness first, and then educate them, and then present your solution. Because people really don't know they have a need until you make them aware of it, that you really have a problem, and that is the solution that you need. And collectively, if you're with it together, then this solution is going to create a greater impact. And so we learned, lost some money, but it was a good experience. Now we tailored our messaging, and surprisingly, it yielded good returns. We got our paying customers.
And in everything so we'll shift gears a little bit. With everything that you've done, what do you think have been sort of the biggest challenges when it comes to your health specifically? I mean, you're a doctor. I think just because you're a doctor, and this is coming from my perspective as well, doesn't mean that we always give the best advice, because whatever we advise our patients may not be what we actually follow ourselves. So we all know about doctors eating sort of the worst food, especially when you're stressed and you're on night shift and you're just trying to get through the night. So what do you think your challenges are? Not so much in the medical life, but moving on to your startup life that you've had.
Well, plenty of challenges though in terms of health. So as I previously mentioned, like running a company is kind of very stressful, right? And that stress can manifest in many ways. For some, they start smoking, they become chain smokers. You need to have some activity, right? Or some become like you are always hungry because you're always thinking, moving, and you need to keep yourself busy, so people end up munching. For me, it was initially like having a lot of coffee, right? Like you need to be thinking, coffee and tea. And at one point, and secondly, it was the sedentary lifestyle, And what do I mean? Like you're always sitting in front of the machine, you're reading, you're writing stuff down, you're trying to create that Excel sheet or the PowerPoint presentation or whatever it is, or the Word document. And that was like kind of very bad. So I realized that once I was, after COVID, basically, COVID was my wake-up call at that time. Like I was kind of gaining weight on that, and a lot of weight. And I was instead of becoming more productive, I was becoming more lethargic. Like my thought process were becoming cloudy. I couldn't think properly. I was getting irritable. And I was always in that like pessimistic, not like optimist, like things do get better. But, if you're in that mindset of pessimism, then that really affects what you're doing going forward, correct? And I was getting in that. So I was like, what do I do to change it? This is not healthy. This is not healthy because you have like you just, like sarcastic. I'm a sarcastic person, but I'm in a bad mood. So like I talk in a very sarcastic way, and that's not a good way to interact.
Was this with your family or just with your staff as well?
Sometimes it happened over with my engineers mostly, and sarcastic banter, and that was not healthy. Instead of providing constructive criticism, which is different than sarcastic comments, right? And that wasn't healthy. And with my family, not so much, because my wife was understanding and why it was happening a little bit, because she's a doctor, by the way, as well. So she was like, you need to change your lifestyle. You need to change this. You need to get into more active lifestyle. And also on top of that, I had a back problem, and that was getting compounded as well on top of that.
Oh, wow. So the recognition was that you realized that, you're putting on weight, it's putting pressure on your back. Yes. You're probably not exercising. You're probably not moving. So so the back, is that the one that broke the camel's back?
The back was getting so bad. So I had a accident, and then I had the surgery back in 2008, basically 2008, and I had a complete disc replacement, like a spinal fusion surgery on my lumbar side. And so that was getting acting up now, and it was getting bad. Like it was paining. I had the sciatica pain. So what to do? Like, because I know for a fact that this problem is not solved medically. It's not a medical problem. It's a physical problem. Something is causing pressure. It's causing pain. So my weight gain is there. Unhealthy diet is there, and those are all compounding and creating that problem. Painkillers are not going to help it. I uh, I started some painkillers, but that's not going to help it. I know that. So what do I do about this? And that's when I decided to dedicate like at least 2 hours of the day only for myself and for my health. Right, that's it. Like it was very difficult getting into the lockdown ended, and it was very difficult getting into that um, active rhythm with this back pain. And at times it was very difficult even to do certain exercises and then start moving after those, because the pain would just kill you, kill you literally.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
but then I persisted. I'm like, no, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. And I talked to some in my circle. I had some contacts with sports physiotherapists, and they sent me some materials over, reading materials as well, like what are the good exercises and what you should do and you shouldn't do. So then I started with that, again building the foundation of my core. My core was weak, building up my core strength, and then working my way into the other aspects of this. Then now I can do a proper workout without without having a back pain. So I don't have a back pain anymore. Basically, the sciatica has solved itself. No more pain radiating down my leg. I can sit. I can walk. I couldn't walk previously for more than 10 minutes because of sciatica.
Wow.
And yep, now I can walk for like 20, 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, easy, not an issue. Uh, and still, I don't catch my breath anymore. Like I don't, my heart rate doesn't jump up so much that I have to take a break. So my endurance built up, and it didn't happen over 2 months when I started from 2020. I used to work out before, but in a very low capacity. But
Yeah.
2021 was like, no, I have to do it daily, 2 hours, 6 days a week, at least minimum 6 days a week. And I did it regardless of the weather, whatever it is, 2 hours, I'm going to go. That's it. Morning.
So
So
the shift for you happened because you just realized you can't deal with this pain, or was it because you realized that you got a young family, you
it
still
was
want to keep going?
both basically, because I had my son that time. He was like, he just turned 1.5 years old, and he wanted to play more, but I couldn't play with him, right? And because of the pain, right? So if you're in a pain, you're in a bad mood. But why
Yeah,
should I
yeah,
be in a bad mood? He wants to spend time with me, but I'm in a bad
yeah,
mood because of the problem not related with him, right?
yeah,
So I have to solve my problem first. And that was also a motivator for me to get into it. Like I know work is there, I know the company is there, but I need to fix myself up first before I can address both of these problems, because ultimately you got to address those. You just
yeah,
can't say it's going to work out because I'm going to take a painkiller or I'm going to take some vitamins. No, it's not going to work out that way. Medicine is not the answer to most of our problems, basically, it contrary to what people believe.
yeah, yeah. That's an interesting point, actually. And so you got yourself better. So what are your routines now? Like what do you do now? You said 2 hours a day you give to yourself. So I'm assuming some of it is exercise. And what else do you do to sort of take care
Yeah.
of your health?
So what do I do is I I fix my diet as well. So the first 2 hours that after I wake up, I in the morning I have a good breakfast, like a carb heavy breakfast. That's important. I drop my son off to school, and then I head to gym basically. And in the gym, they have it's a nice outfitted gym. They have everything. So for the 2 hours, I work out. I do 1 hour, first hour of part of the workout is like stretching, dynamic stretchings, and making sure I'm warmed up properly, because I have a back weakness, so I need to warm
Yeah.
myself up and prepare, like do all kinds of stretches and get my mobility there, because this morning you're already stiff a little bit, so
Yeah.
get yourself warmed up, do some treadmill walking. I like to do incline walking. That warms me
Yeah.
up, that gets the sweat running. And then I go into workout, basically. So from my experimentations, what works for me is like the push pull. So
Yeah.
one day is push, next day is pull, and then I do one day complete legs. And I take, then after that, I don't do the 3 days, then the fourth day, I don't do any workout, but rather I do cycling or
Yeah.
more incline
It's more
walking.
cardio. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I repeat, basically, and I increase the weight. I do a pyramid level workout. Sometimes I do supersets there as well. And the goal is I say, okay, in this 3 months, my PR, my personal record should increase to this much, So
Yeah.
how should I do this? These are the steps, right? So I record them, I measure them, and I want to hit my PRs basically as high as I can go without hurting myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And once I do that, every day, when I come and set for the meetings, for company problems that are there. And then we are also in a boot camp right now. So it has its own separate activity. And I feel like I have that energy. I'm not lethargic anymore. I feel like my focus is there on whatever task I'm doing then. And I am giving an output, which is measurable, which is bringing a change. And that's the benefit I'm seeing. That's the benefit. Then I have my son, I pick him up from school, and then he wants to play. And I still have the energy to go and play with him. So I'm not like mentally bogged down anymore. And physically, I'm feeling lethargic. No, I'm always there ready to go. And that's the benefit of workout. People don't give it much credit. They think I could have spent that time doing something else, but no, that's really important.
It's very interesting you mentioned that, because I think for a lot of people, they think exercise is a hindrance. For many people don't enjoy exercising, and they feel if they exercise, they're actually going to lose energy. But it's interesting that you mentioned that you actually gain a lot more energy by exercising, and especially not at the initial phases. So if you've never exercised, like I can only imagine when you had your back issues and you started, that would have been really difficult and challenging from the beginning, but then it probably improved, and then you see your strength increase, you feel the energy, you feel more focused. So it's great that you mentioned that. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask, and I do this for all our guests on the show, is do you walk the talk? So you've been a doctor, you've had your health issues, you're running your own company, and you have bad days where you feel like you want to eat the food that you want to eat, or you don't want to exercise. How do you walk the talk, or do you walk the talk?
Yep, I do the walk the talk. So there are some groups I have joined, the startup groups, the entrepreneur groups, right? And most of them, I see, they have like awesome idea, but they're like, I do exercise, but sometimes I end up eating like too much of junk food. Like, what do I do about that? It's okay. I really like it, but it happens. I'm like, dude, it also happens to me. Once in a while, you should just let yourself go. If you restrict yourself too much, then it's like it's counterproductive, right? You feel like eating a good margarita. Get one margarita for yourself. Just have it. Just have it. It's okay. You want to have a good double whopper, Burger King, or triple whopper? I don't know. Whatever fits your bill, man. It's like, and with a large Pepsi, extra large at that, go ahead. It's okay. But you should remember that this is because you have that craving now. But again, you should continue your practice, which gives you the energy, which is a positive, like a workout, because people think that I should stop completely. My cravings is going to add on weight, but no. If you're having a lifestyle, which is like this time is dedicated for my workout, this time is for my work or whatever it is, have that, but don't leave that. And for me, when I was practicing, and this is a practice I carried over. When I do when I used to counsel patients on the dietary changes and everything, I used to give them, look, this is what I do, right? This is what I do. And you should follow this advice because this is what I'm doing and these are the benefits. So my always approach to them was like, don't think it from medicine point of view, think it from this point of view, right? Then I'm going to introduce the medicines if this doesn't work. but try this first
Yeah.
because this worked out for me. For the
Yeah.
founders, I tell to them, like, look, I'm working out. When I started, my entire body used to pain. I couldn't walk. It was
Yeah.
miserable. But the second day, I did more. I went, I grit through the pain. I went, the pain decreased. Third day, pain decreased. Four, it decreased. At the end of the seventh day, I'm feeling very fine and I'm getting that extra energy. So why don't you do it? Let's do it. And I show them some of the planks and stretches that I do on site. They're like, oh, no, no, don't do this. I'm like, no, you need to see this. You need to see this so you can do it. Don't see the videos. YouTube videos is one thing, and seeing it in front of your eyes is another thing. So see it, practice with me now, and then do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's interesting though, because a lot of people want they want the easy thing to do, and sometimes you can't do exercises for other people. They need to do it themselves. Well, that has been amazing, Mohammed, in terms of all that information that you shared. Before we end, I'd like to sort of go through maybe 5 things you think the listeners would benefit from your perspective in terms of health in the startup world, especially, and what they could benefit. Maybe 5 little tips that would help them.
The first tip would be never give up. That's the very important. That's the tip of the pyramid. Never give up. Right? Things might be bad, but they don't get any worse. Right? So don't give up hope. Right? Never give up, and then don't give up hope, and always be at it. There's always the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's very important. So don't give up. Never give up hope. Right? Second tip is keep an open mind. And that's very important to have an open mind. The reason is during this journey, people will come with a lot of feedback, a lot of criticism, a lot of pushbacks as well, right? Having an open mind helps you to accept them without taking it personally, right? And thinking, like, why did that person tell me this, right? Why did he or she tell me this? What is the reason behind this? So you ask them, like, if it was something negative, apologize and say, like, why? I didn't know, but why would you give this feedback or criticism? I would like to know. And then you work on it, right? Having an open mind helps you to deal with this. Third point is always be open to collaboration. In the startup journey, in this entrepreneurial journey, or generally in this field, is I go in with the mindset of I don't know. I don't know. I go in with the mindset of I don't know. I want to hear what that other person is telling me, right? And then I add my insights to it. Do you agree? This is my insights. So we have a collaborative approach, right? I listen, I add. I don't say like, no, 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 you're wrong. This is my viewpoint, blah, blah, blah. Then it doesn't work. Go with the mindset of I don't know. Let's see what comes in. So this brings in ideas and fresh perspectives that you can apply not only in your personal life, but on your this entrepreneurial journey or even in your regular day job, right? Go with the mindset of I just don't know. The fourth one is have time for yourself, a personal time for yourself, which you dedicate. It could be meditation. Some are like, oh, I just like meditation, do that. Spend 2 hours of your day, 2 hours when there is no distraction, when you have starting your day or in the middle of the day, whatever it is, just 2 hours just to yourself. It could be hiking. I don't know. I have this one of my friends. He likes going hiking to a mountain every weekend. Not necessary, but every weekend he says it freshens me up. It just the peace and quiet. It opens up my mind. So it's a stress relief for him. Also, it's just a form of a workout as well. Hiking. Keep time for yourself. That's very, very important. And fifth is listen to the advice of your family. If you have a supportive wife, give an open ear. You're always busy. Everyone is busy, but it's very important to give time to your family. Why? Because ultimately, who you are doing this for, right?
Yeah.
Who are you doing this for? And people, most of the time, they forget, like, they have goals. Like, I want to have $1 million, right? I want to have big home or this. This is materialistic stuff. Think about your family. Like, who are you doing this for? Why are you doing this for? And if you, and If you are able to identify that, why you are doing this for and who are you doing this for, then that's going to help you fix all the other fours.
Amazing, Mohammed. I think left with some with nuggets of wisdom there. I think even myself, I could see myself in many of those areas and areas that I could be improving as well. All the best with TerraGrow. I think it's obviously going to grow and get bigger and more amazing. And I think with the food that we're creating, everyone wants it easy now. So the fact that you can just close the pot and come back in 3 months and have your vegetables, I think is an amazing thing. I'll leave a lot of the notes in the show notes below as well. But thank you so much for coming on and for sharing all of that with us.
Yep. Thank you.
This wraps up this episode of Peak Performance Hacks. All the links and resources are in the video description or in the resource section, whether it is on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you're watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a review so that more people can discover our podcast and it could benefit them as well. Until I catch you next time, speak soon.